This is a reply to Scott Adams and his challenge to explain the transgender debate in sports without resorting to the argument of fairness. To do that, we need to go to the whiteboard, where we're going to talk about category. In this case, we're going to remove it from the whole transgender issue and talk about sports in junior high and high school. Because I think once you see this, you can't unsee it, and it will actually be very persuasive and expand into other areas of life. In this case, junior high is normally regarded as being 12 to 13-year-olds, and high school is a category of 14 to 18-year-olds. If we have a sport, say soccer or football, it doesn't really matter, people are going to fall in distribution of that. There's going to be some junior high kids that are better than some of the high school kids, but it tends to follow along age ranges. Now, if you have a parent who, for whatever reason, decides to hold their child back a year, so they end up with a 14-year-old in the junior high area, specifically for the purpose of playing sports to draw attention to that person, they will likely end up in this top section here. This area is the area that people pay attention to in sports, there and there. And we would consider that attention-seeking behavior. So what they're doing is they're taking somebody who should be in this category and moving them into that category for the purpose of attention. They want them to be the best on the team. If they had stayed in their appropriate category, they'd probably be somewhere in this area, which I would consider the land of mediocrity. They're not the best, they're just someplace in the middle. Now you can see how this would apply then if we change this to the whole transgender debate. Instead of talking about junior high and high school, we're talking about XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes. So this has nothing to do with fairness, it has to do with category jumping. If they stayed in the appropriate category, then they would be someplace in the land of mediocrity, but instead they're trying to jump down into a different category that they normally would not apply for, and coincidentally, always ending up at the very top of that category. So we are put in a position where we're forced to pay them attention. Humans don't like this. We would prefer to have the category be sound and pay attention to somebody based on their excellence in that category, and not for category jumping reasons, which would be attention-seeking behavior. Now there are good reasons to jump categories in certain circumstances. For example, let's say in the case of the junior high and high school, that it's not for sports or athletics where you're seeking attention, but it's instead for grades and personal development. You're not in direct competition with anybody else. You fit better in that category because maybe you're having a hard time learning. In that case, holding your child back a year makes perfect sense. You expand the category in that scenario where you're not seeking attention. Likewise, with transgender people, if they feel better in their body doing that sort of thing, by all means, jump the category, express yourself how you want to. But the point is that as soon as you put it in the realm of sports, and as soon as they're doing so to end up here, and a lot of people that are motivated in sports will bend those corners and take those shortcuts in order to be at the top, then what you're doing is you are indeed engaging in attention-seeking behavior, which should be pushed aside, expelled from the cultural debate going on. I hope this explains it. I haven't resorted to calling anything about fairness or unfairness. This is all about categories and the preservation of those categories and minimizing attention-seeking behavior. Thanks.